For your indulgence, I want to say this for my passion. It says 8 years of the bottle being shaken, and I popped on this floor today. There's not a one of you on this floor, where Senator Matthews was here, that I don't care about and that I don't love as a human being. My passion was not directed at you. My passion is at the money changing. My passion is at the system that cloaks itself in darkness, and it causes good people to come up here, and for the fear of man is a snare. They stop fighting. There's a commonality that comes up here, and it's about control. And if I'll sit back, if I'll be quiet, then I'll start gaining the respects of my colleagues. And I'll get a chairmanship, and that will make me be able to get bills passed. That's good for my district. But that same system that we bite the apple on causes the system to lose the fire and the passion that many of us came up here, and it was in our belly. It was about righteousness. It was about justice, and that includes the tax code. And so I say to you, the fear of man is a snare. I love every one of you. Decorum matters, but sometimes you've got to go after the money changing. And sometimes you've got to take a whip with you. And if maybe I was whipping a little bit today, it's because I'm indignant about the man behind the curtain. And I'm trying to expose that man behind the curtain and say to you, let's stop playing the game. This game is not on a level playing field up here. Why don't we not come up here and be conformed, but let's be transformed. And let's transform each other in the way we think on this. I want to hit a few highlights. There were some things that were said. I don't know if I'm going to be able to convince anyone, but I want to share. Senator Murdoch, let's talk about this on another day, was Senator Murdoch's comment. I remember that in Gone with the Wind. I'll think about that tomorrow. Okay? Senator Allen, recurring revenue, 11th year. Absolutely. We're moving the 11th year where we don't have a $70 million liability in year one. Senator Thompson, in regard to going back on our word, we went back on our word when we were more than happy to take away the 4.85 income tax bracket that affects everyone who makes above $8,700 as an individual in Oklahoma or above $15,000. We took that away. We took that away. Can we justify taking that away that affected the average Oklahoman who could have paid less? But we can't say this deal for justice purposes is wrong? Senator Stanislawski, I agree with you. It's fairness for business. The original bill was about fairness, and I get that. You would go about it a different way than I would. I've worked on measures that save hundreds of millions of dollars. And I believe we could lower the rate. There's no agreement the House is going to pick this up. I concede. But we never know unless we try. And the problem is this bill has never been on this floor. This debate's never been on the floor that I know of in the House or the Senate. Why is that? Is it because behind the curtain deals are cut to protect a special interest group, and maybe I'm sadly the little dog that's pulling the curtain back and barking and saying it's time for that man to quit convincing you that he's the great and powerful Oz, and that, never mind him. Never mind him. Don't disregard the man behind the curtain. Members, wind industry for this floor discussion is behind the curtain. And Oklahomans need it exposed. You talked about hijacking the bill. I understand. I understand there are some of you that are upset because of decorum of the Senate. Let me talk to you about decorum of the Senate. I never realized years ago that I'd have bills taken away from me because of my vote. So one decorum is okay, but another procedure of decorum is not okay. So when we talk about decorum, let's be fair. And you say hijack, what other options have some of us had? As we've advocated, as we've pushed bills, as I passed this bill at a special session that could have put real money this year into the table, and it doesn't get brought up on the floor. I understand there are deals that are being made, deals that are being cut. Why don't we bring sunshine? Why don't we throw those ideas out on the board and let the voters see where we're at instead of protecting ourselves against consequences? Consequences of election. I have no problem looking someone in the eye and say, this is why I did this. I owe it to them. They put me up here. They gave me a trust. Let's bring sunshine. Senator Treat alluded to the House was supposed to be sending us something from the wind. Why does it never happen? Why does it never happen? Why is it always, well, I'll think about that tomorrow? Why is it for a decade this has been on rotating basis? Because no one is willing to stand and not care what people think about them and not care if they make people mad. I love every one of you. It was time to address this. And this is the only opportunity I've seen in 8 years to get this done, to awake Oklahoma to this. Senator Daniel's right. This is your only chance. If you do as Scarlett O'Hara would advise you, and I'll think about that tomorrow, $500 to $750 million. What's the history? The history is going to tell us about the future. We can promise all day long that things are we're going to work on it. I believe it's well intentioned. Today may be your only chance to make it happen for the taxpayers of Oklahoma. I'm going to end with this. Senator Dom and I were driving back last night, and we were talking about how this $70 million corporate welfare payment made to the wind industry after we zeroed out their entire income tax liability pertains to our state song. So I'm going to recite you a modified rendition. You ready? Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plains, where it should be an easy feat to deal with a tax credit that is so sweet, but all the while the taxpayer's feeling all the pain. What's my point? What's my point? They have to come to Oklahoma to get the tax credit. It's intrinsic to Oklahoma. There's a reason why we're number 2 of producing states. They have to come to Oklahoma for the wind. They get a 2 cent per kilowatt hour from the federal government subsidy already. Why do we need to keep cutting them a corporate welfare check that only 2 industries in the state of Oklahoma enjoy? Coal, which is about $5 million, and I've run bills on that one, and zero emissions at $70 million payout. We said a while ago, well, let's take the bird nest, let's take what we could see. The problem is you can't see that this is going to bring in $19 million. That was expressed. We hope it does, but it may not. And we're going to pull out general revenue. We heard that on the floor in this discussion to fill that void. If the $19 million doesn't come out, so this is fourfold. 70 to 100 million is the tax commission tells it's going to grow. $500 to $750 million liability that cannot go to core government functions, because if we don't deal with it today, mark my words, they'll continue to think about it tomorrow. I encourage your support.
Members, that concludes debate on the amendment.